Hollywood has a strange obsession with bringing dead celebrities back to life, and it seems now with AI, this is only gonna get worse. But did you know that Tales from the Crypt might actually be the first to bring one back in a guest role? You Murderer, which first aired January 25th, 1995, does just that, bringing Humphrey Bogart back to the small screen, 38 years after his death. The episode was written by A.L. Katz and Gilbert Adler, and was directed by Robert Zemeckis. Zemeckis had just come off directing Forrest Gump, and with the help of Industrial Light and Magic, the visual effects company known for their work on movies like Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark, they helped bring Bogart back from the dead. Well, for a little while. Not only does Bogart get resurrected, but also Alfred Hitchcock, who had also been dead for some 15 years. The Crypt Keeper segment is also a parody of Zemeckis' Forrest Gump, as it was a fairly big deal at the time, and up for a bunch of Oscars. Not only was Humphrey Bogart brought back to life, he's also given top billing. The episode begins with the end. Bogart's Lou Spinelli is dead, which means this is one of those episodes where we have to go back in time slightly to find out what happened. Lou Spinelli is an ad executive who happens to have the beautiful Sherilyn Fenn working under him.
What was that slogan again?
Here's looking at you, kid.
I like it, Erica. It's got a familiar ring to it.
Well, of course it has a familiar ring. We all know "Here's Looking at You, Kid" comes from the Maltese Falcon, of course. Hilariously, Bogart's classic line is used for some ad campaign, but I have no idea what they're trying to sell. Sheep? Goats? Hares? Is this a PETA thing or an eat meat thing? Lou then gets a call from his buddy Oscar, but it actually turns out to be from his wife Betty. She's a tad upset since Lou sent some goons to kill her, though they somehow managed to botch it.
Idiots.
The entire episode is told from Lou's first-person perspective. This was mostly done because the effect of bringing Bogart back to life was so time-intensive and expensive that it just wasn't feasible to have the camera constantly on him. Instead, the camera mostly stands in for him. Though anytime we do see him, it's always in a reflection and often played by actor and Bogart lookalike Robert Saatchi, just with Bogart's face placed over his own. It turns out Lou wasn't always an ad executive. Seems he was a gangster who went into hiding with a face change, although it really just seems to be a mouth change. Imagine getting killed by a gangster who looks like he has a mouthful of marbles.
I'm the guy that changed your face.
Yeah, and made me look like Bogart.
It would have been easier to make you look like Gabby Hayes.
Oh, I don't know about that one. We've gone back in time, again, back to when Lou's wife first discovered who he really was, and Oscar, played by John Lithgow, is freaking out. He figures since the cops are still looking for Lou, if they find out what Oscar did, he'll go down with him. Of course, the only thing to do now is to kill Lou's wife, though wouldn't that just mean he would need to change his face again? Lou gets home and the front door is suspiciously open. Nothing a snub-nosed revolver can't handle, or whatever it is, I don't exactly know guns. Lou checks out the place, which looks like the apartment from Frasier, and finds Oscar dead on the ground.
Drop the gun, Lou.
Betty.
Hello, Lou.
A double cross on Tales from the Crypt? Well, this is definitely something we've never seen before. So Betty and Oscar have been messing around for the past year, and now they plan on having Lou take his own life? For what reason? I don't know, maybe money or something, you know, the typical stuff. I do like how they find excuses to show off Bogart's face, like when Oscar hands him this very shiny flask so he can drink some poison. Lou realizes Oscar has no intention of shooting him, because that would ruin the whole suicide angle. But how much polish do they use on this table? I've never seen a table that reflective. Betty then comes in swinging a statue, but it takes her so long to get to him and he has a gun. He could have easily shot her. The horrifying thing is Lou still seems to be aware of everything that's going on. Maybe that bright flash was heaven realizing, maybe we shouldn't take this one, guys.
No breathing. His pupils are dilated. He's dead, all right.
He's definitely dead! Instead of making it look like he took his own life, Betty and Oscar decide to hide the body. Lou was already on the run from the law, so him suddenly disappearing shouldn't be too strange. Just then Erica shows up, so they toss Lou's body in the closet, though they do a piss poor job of closing the door. Oscar explains they have no idea where Lou could be, but that the FBI is looking for him because he wasn't exactly the man he claimed to be.
Not the beast!
Once Erica leaves, Betty starts accusing her dead husband of having an affair, simply because Erica was worried about him, despite she herself having one for over a year with Oscar. Lou then gets shoved into the car while he's taken somewhere.
Betty was right about Erica and me.
Oh, Lou, you're warm, sensitive, caring. You're great in bed.
Alright, so maybe Lou was messing around, but he's a gangster. That comes with the job. Plus, his wife is kind of psychotic.
You're cheap, insensitive, stupid, and lousy in bed.
They pull up to a piece of property Lou bought and decide to bury him there. I feel like burying someone away from where police might check is the better idea, but what do I know about hiding the bodies of my murder victims? Just then, Erica shows up with a gun, but decides to call the police instead of just taking out the trash. Becky quickly shoots Erica, but at the same time hits Lou, which causes him to knock the car out of park. These two seem to have taken their evading skills from the Prometheus playbook. Just run to the sides, guys.
Well. He's looking at you, kids.
Well, that's funny. Didn't he say the same thing to Betty's mom?
He's looking at you, kid.
You Murderer is based off the comic of the same name, which can be found in the pages of Shock Suspense Stories number 14. Released April 1954, You Murderer was written by Otto Binder, with artwork by Bernard Krigstein and cover art by Wally Wood. The cover art features a woman recoiling in horror as what I'm going to assume is her man is gunned down by some guy in a trench coat. Remember folks, this was made for kids. Like with the episode, the story takes place entirely in the first person. Here we follow some guy, because he has no name apparently. He's walking alone on a cold, foggy night, saying the most vile of curses when he steps in a puddle of water. Oh blast, didn't see it! Suddenly he's stopped by some creepy looking hunchback dude. The creepy hunchback asks for a match, which our nameless guy obliges to. Probably shouldn't have because the creepy hunchback seems to be very good at hypnotism. The hunchback stares deeply into the man's eyes, taking control of his mind, and reveals himself to be the world's greatest hypnotist, Professor Galby. With the man under his control, he tells him he has a job for him. You see, his wife has been canoodling with another man, and it's gonna be his job to kill him. At first, the guy nearly breaks out of the trance. I mean, there's no way he could kill someone. Realizing that he might lose his would-be assassin, the hunchback then changes the story, claiming the man wasn't cheating with his wife, he's actually a dirty communist spy who's threatening to blow up the city with a nuclear bomb. The guy's like, "No need to explain any further, Mr. Hunchback, you had me at dirty commie." The hunchback tells the man that he will go on and be a hero, and after he's completed his mission, he won't remember a single thing about that night. While the man leaves to save America like the true patriot he is, the hunchback decides to create an alibi for himself by hitting up a nearby bar. I mean, there's no way anyone could forget a disgusting hunchback at a bar. The man finds the communist spy, clearly working on his bomb and definitely not an old television set. The man enters the garage, grabbing an old rusty chain, and doing his best Ghost Rider impression, a character that wouldn't be invented for another 20 years, starts to beat the communist spy. The man begs and pleads for his life. "Why are you doing this? I never hurt you. I never hurt anybody in my life." Yeah, nice try, Red. We've all heard that one before. The sounds of the chains alert the hunchback's wife, who is pretty horrified at the sight of her lover being struck. In her haste, she went tumbling down the stairs, passing out as the man kept swinging and swinging the chain. Dirty Red. The man may have gone a bit too far, as again this is a children's book, and it says, "His shriek died to a bubbling moan, then a final death rattle. Nothing was left but a mass of oozing scarlet pulp." Again, this is for kids. The man makes his way back home and suddenly everything washes away. He completely forgets what it was he was doing. He wanted to go for a walk, but it's a little too late for that. Might as well get some shut-eye. The following morning, the man wakes up all rested and re-energized. He reads about the brutal murder in the morning paper, but has nothing to do with him, so who cares? But out of the shadows sits the hunchback who just watched this guy sleep, I guess? He reminds the man what he did, that he was a murderer, and then the story just ends. What, no fun twist? He just sits there and is like, "So yeah, about last night, you sorta murdered someone." You Murderer is a fun episode from Tales from the Crypt, but it's less horror and more 1940s noir, which makes sense considering the strange choice in casting. John Lithgow is great as always, Sherilyn Fenn is fine, and Isabella Rossellini, the daughter of Ingrid Bergman, who co-starred with Bogart in Casablanca, also did a great job. However, the real reason this episode exists, the real reason it was made, was specifically for bringing Humphrey Bogart back from the dead. Now, why would they do this? I'm honestly not sure, but I think it does have something to do with Forrest Gump that came out about 6 months prior. In Forrest Gump, Zemeckis had Forrest digitally inserted into archival footage. Well, they basically do the same thing here, only in reverse. They took footage from some of his movies like Casablanca and The Maltese Falcon, colorized it, changed where his eyes were looking, and composited that image over actor Robert Saatchi. The effect proved to be even more difficult to accomplish than what was done in Forrest Gump. There, they only had to match Tom Hanks to the historical footage, whereas here they had to match colors and lighting to Bogart against everyone else. The entire process took ILM roughly 2.5 weeks to complete, though Zemeckis would go on to say, "Bogey was wonderful to work with. He took direction really well. He didn't complain once," with ILM effects supervisor Ken Ralston saying, "I guess we'll need to get a Ouija board to see if the man is really happy about all this." And that's kind of the underlying issue with this. Whether or not his family gave their blessings, does that mean the deceased person would still be okay with it? Would Brandon Lee have been okay with them finishing The Crow if he had his say? What about Oliver Reed in Gladiator? Peter Cushing in Rogue One? Carrie Fisher in Rise of Skywalker? Harold Ramis in Ghostbusters Afterlife? Fred Astaire's daughter was appalled that her father's likeness was used to sell Dirt Devil vacuums in 1997. Around 2019, it was announced that James Dean would be starring in a new movie called Finding Jack, but received so much public backlash that the project was cancelled. But now with the rise of AI, things are getting even weirder. You've got Matthew McConaughey coming out and telling younger actors to trademark themselves, so companies in the future can't use their likeness or voice without permission. And even worse, Val Kilmer, who passed away last April, is set to be brought back using AI in a movie called As Deep as the Grave, which is not a great title for the movie, all things considered.
Don't fear the dead, and don't fear me.
What the f***?
While You Murderer was a novelty and pioneer at the time, I think there are some ethical and legal ramifications that could pop up because of Hollywood's unwillingness to just let celebrities rest. And I'll be frank, I'm not exactly the person to discuss these things. I'll stick to what I know best, which is adding cartoon sound effects. As for the episode itself, it's pretty enjoyable, and despite sharing the same name, shares almost nothing in common with its comic counterpart. Outside of the first-person perspective anyways. But what do you think about You Murderer? Let me know down in the comments. Anyways, that's all for today. I hope you're having a great week and stay spooky. Huge thanks to all my channel members, you're the real MVPs of the Spooky Squad. Your support helps keep the lights flickering and the monsters fed. If you'd like to join up and help support the channel, check out the join button below. But no pressure, just watching and liking helps a ton too.